really was to
that I felt like I needed, and I was comfortable in that space of just me and God.
Hope is offensive. Hope is desperate.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday. It's Coach Karen. Come on in here. Come on, wakey. I know you've got a lot planned for the week. Maybe you had a lot going on this weekend. I did. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to blow your mind. So prepare yourself. Come on in here and get your coffee, your water, whatever you're starting with. And really, you should start with water. I saw excuse me, the most fascinating clip the other day from a neurologist who said that the majority of people that he sees for things like strokes and other brain injuries that kind of come on suddenly, the main thing that he sees from people is that they do not do this one thing. I was just fascinated by this, and I've started doing it. It's drinking 20 ounces of water within 30 minutes of getting up every single morning. Now, I am not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but I just thought that was the coolest thing. So guess who's drinking 20 ounces of water within the first 30 minutes of getting up? Yours truly. I just thought that was a fun fact or fun tip. Again, not medical advice. So putting my disclaimer in there. But anyway, good morning. It's really good to see you. I am so happy you are right here. If you're joining us live, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. This is my favorite way to start the week. We've got a fascinating topic today. We're going to be talking about seasons and how important they are to your vision. Whether you're a workplace leader or an entrepreneur, seasons are really important, and what you don't know can actually hurt you. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some strategies, and I want you, whenever we do these, just to find at least one thing that you can take action on in your own work, your life, your family, your ministry, whatever it is. We're going to give you some things that you can use today, right now. Absolutely. So come on in here. I want to say good morning to everybody who's joining us live. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, everybody. So glad to have you in here. Thank you so much for taking the time to follow along with us. Do me a huge favor and just hit the follow button and make sure you're subscribed so that you get the download when we are going live and when we've got some other things coming up. I want to talk to you about some of the things that can help you rock your vision. So Rock Your Vision exists, for those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to this community, to really be a place for inspiration, encouragement, and equipping. That means providing you tools, resources, connections, networks, opportunities to share about what you're doing for vision-driven workplace leaders, entrepreneurs, and the mission-minded. We've been around for about 10 years. It's hard to believe. That blows my mind because when I started, I was like, yeah, this won't last. Anyway, here we are. And this is a great place for you to make some important, very strategic connections to your own learning and to the broader community around you. So welcome. Hey, John Kovaleski. He's in the background making the magic happen. Y'all know he's my twin. You can see his little picture there. I've got the hair on the top. He's got the hair right down here. Anyway, Amanda Bowen is here. Hey, Amanda. Good morning. Amanda is part of our marketing team. She is absolutely awesome. And she has her own podcast. Maybe one day I'm saying bye to Jimmy. Y'all say bye to Jimmy? Maybe one day she'll come on and talk to us about all the fun things she's got going on in her vision. And we have DoDash Executive Coaching. Kim is one of my OGs. She's one of my best friends in the entire world. I had a chance to see her recently virtually. We got to get the in-person thing going. Christy can't. But Coach Kim reminded me this morning, I saw on her page, it's the first day of spring. And I know it because I got to blow my nose. Hold on a minute. Yeah, that's right. How about that? That was spring magic. It is the first day of spring, so happy spring, everybody. I'm so excited about that for all of you gardeners and farmers and people who like to get out and take walks. First day of spring. Shay Houston is in the house, also one of our OGs. Shay is the CEO and founder of Shay Renee Macarons. These are the macarons that will change your life. I'm telling you. Check her out at Shay Renee Macarons everywhere on social media and at her website, shayreneemacaron.com. She is absolutely amazing. Well, we're going to be talking about it today, but first I want to know, what'd y'all do this weekend? What'd you do? I'm going to, let's see, what am I going to do here? I'm going to mute this for a minute so I can blow my nose. And if I don't do that, it's going to get, difficult around here. So sorry about that. But anyway, I need to know what you guys did this weekend. I'm asking for a very specific reason. It's a little bit of a setup. Amanda said she's moving. Oh my gosh, congrats. Yes, girl. I know. If you need an extra truck, just let me know. I got you. I don't have a truck, but I have like an SUV that's got lots of space in the back. So holler at a girl. Okay. I'm just saying. Anyway, Coach Kim says she cleaned up the pig pen. She's getting ready for the piglets. Okay. Everybody, if you are not following Dudash Farms, so the secret that you need to know about Coach Kim and her husband, Brian Dudash, is that they own a farm. And when I tell you they own a farm, I mean they own a farm. It is a slice of heaven tucked away in a little town called Dandridge, Tennessee. And when I tell you this is like seriously on my top 5 favorite places to go anytime, Dudash Farms, they have the most incredible farm where they specialize in, Kim, I'm going to get this wrong, Wagyu beef and also pork. And every year, Brian and I, we don't really have a fight because it's not my farm, but I'm fighting with him secretly because I like to name the piglets. Apparently, that's a very bad thing to do, but they are absolutely precious. And I like bacon. I've gotten way off track. Anyway, Kim clarified. She says grass-fed Wagyu, Angus cross beef, and pasture-raised pork. So this, guys, is the best, cleanest, like the taste of like the kind of beef and pork that Brian and Kim produce at their farm is second to none. I'm telling you, you will not be the same. Anyway, check them out. Kim, go ahead and put the link because you can order. Anyway, she said she got me off track. You didn't get me off track, girl. I got myself off track. Anyway, so yes, Shay said she tried her hand at vegan macarons. Okay, now there's somebody around here who loves that. So we're back to Shay Renee. She tried her hand at vegan macarons, and I am positive, Shay, that if you put your hand in it, it was awesome. I'm gonna stick with real meat. Okay, so I need real meat macarons. Now, we're kidding. Macarons don't have meat in them, but I'm just saying. All right, there's Coach Kim's. There is her website. So y'all go check her out. So I'm going to tell you what I did this weekend. Here, there. So, just in case anybody ever wants to know if Coach Karen is asleep, somebody get a picture of this because we'll see how long it lasts. But anyway, I took roller skating lessons. I sure did. And why? That's a very good question. I want you to know something. Every cell in my body right now hurts. I have a whole new respect for the roller skating world. And there's a whole world. Anybody else roller skate? Am I the only lunatic that does this? I have had a vision since I was a kid that I would get on the floor, get on the roller skating rink floor, and just, yes, hey, and there's a whole community, like this whole world of roller skaters who are just absolutely killing it. And it is such great exercise. So I took lessons from an amazing community called Skates Out. And they are a family-owned business. And maybe one day I will have them here, because when I tell you, they had a vision over the pandemic that was brought about. And, we talk about this all the time. Vision is always brought about by some sort of disruption. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But when I tell you, they are building a vision they love, and it is absolutely changing people's lives. And guys, for those of you who are like, Kieran, you too old to be on them skates, you know better than that. I just want you to know that most everybody in there, like there was one family in there, a husband and wife were in there. And then there were two other people in there who were about my age, seasoned saints. Okay. And we had the best time. Now you can imagine being on wheels, all of this on wheels. I only fell, like, seriously once, but I had support. I had help. That gives you a little bit of a clue of what we're going to talk about today. But anyway, I just had to tell you all that. I thought you would find that so funny. But right now, my eyelashes hurt. Now they're covered up by somebody else's lashes. So, it's you can't tell. But I just wanted y'all to know, get out there and do your thing. Stop waiting for, I don't know, whatever it is. And yeah, I'm going to have to get back to the gym and work on these old knees and thighs and all like that. But I refuse to be defeated. Now, the important thing to know, the leadership lesson here is that a couple of years ago, I guess maybe now it was 3 years ago, I had the great idea to go roller skating with my youth group. And I was like, I got it. And I stood up and I was like, yes. And guess what happened? Your girl got a little push from some little yokel who didn't know what they were doing. And they ran into me and I went flying. I went absolutely flying in the air. I mean, like Bugs Bunny flying. Now I can laugh now, but I was not laughing then, y'all. I'm serious. Anyway, I almost ended up in the hospital, and I am not kidding. I can laugh about it now, but I was not laughing back then. I hit my head and I hit my tailbone. Now that's a whole separate story. I'm going to move on now, but my point is I refuse to be defeated. Anyway, okay. So there are a couple skaters out here. And by the way, for those of you that are in the Metro Atlanta area, if you would be interested in taking a Rock Your Vision sponsored skate class, you just let me know and I'll put it together, because I need somebody else out there. I also have a double Dutch rope around here somewhere. I am not reliving my youth, y'all. I'm just doing the things that I want to do. I just want you to know that. Okay. Anyway, yes. Shay says it's been a long time. Kim, you roller skate? Of course you roller skate. Of course you roller skate. Why didn't I know that? Okay, we have a date the next time we see each other, okay? Amanda says she used to rollerblade. And Coach John says, yep, it's a fantastic form of exercise. Y'all, I broke a full-on sweat roller skating. I literally broke a sweat. It was so much fun. And Amanda says it's dangerous, but so thrilling. It is. Yes, you have to have a healthy respect for what's going on those wheels. And you have to have a healthy respect for your body. Okay, let's use that as a segue to get into our topic today. I'm going to be talking about seasons. Y'all get your notebook, because I've got some things to download for you today that are going to change the way you approach your vision. So come on in here. It doesn't matter if you're a workplace leader, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a ministry leader, maybe you are a community advocate. I don't know, whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you're a parent, a grandparent raising your grandbabies. Whatever it is, I want you to learn some things from what I learned the hard way being out in the garden. I also had a conversation the other day that tied so beautifully, and that's how I knew this was a topic we needed to talk about today. So I was talking with one of my spiritual parents. Does anybody else have spiritual parents? people that you look up to. Maybe they are your parents or grandparents, or maybe church members or somebody like that who have really, they walk the walk. Like these people, some of you know them. I call them Pop and MC. So if y'all are watching, hey y'all, I love you. Anyway, these are people who have prayed for you. They love you. They know God. They're so grounded, and they have walked ahead of you. They've done the hard stuff. Well, my spiritual parents, we had dinner with them the other day, and I just love soaking up their energy, their insight, their wisdom. And we were talking the other day, MC and I call her Mama Kathy, and I were talking the other day about the importance of understanding seasons. And I was so fascinated by this because here we are in spring. So the gardener in me is like screaming to get out there. But over the weekend, I checked on some seedlings that I planted. Now, it's been sunny. It was even warm a couple of weeks ago. And so I was like, oh, it's time to get out in the garden. And wouldn't you know it, we ended up with a surprise freeze. Guess what happened to those seedlings? Now, this doesn't seem like it matters to anybody. For those of you who are not gardeners, you're like, okay, you're way over my head here. But there's something powerful to understand, that if you do not understand what's happening in the seasons, or if you think that you're smarter than the season that you're in, you may just get your bum handed to you. You may just get your bum handed to you. Ecclesiastes says that there's nothing new under the sun. And let me just tell you, that is absolutely true. It alludes to that. It doesn't say that specifically. But my point is that if you do not understand the seasons that you're in, and if you don't understand that, at least in the natural world, seasons apply to everybody. And there's something really important to understand from a leadership perspective. And I'm talking about the social concept of leadership, right? I'm not talking about the verb of leadership, leading people. I'm talking about leadership as a way of life. Now, it may apply to something specific as it relates to what's happening in your workplace or in your business, if you are scaling your business, or if you are trying to enter a new market, or if you are raising a family. This idea of seasons may apply very specifically, but I want you to step back for a second and take a journey with me, because I'm going to give you a few power plays, and I want you to write these down. These are very important, but the first power play I'm going to give you is actually the early warning sign for what season you're in your work, in your life, in your family. Okay, you ready? Come on in here. This is important. One of the things that I began to recognize, I guess about 8 years ago, as I was working with leaders, that I was already in private practice at this time, but I kept seeing this theme. And the theme was that every single leader I was working with, it didn't matter if it was here in Rock Your Vision, if it was in my corporate practice, if it was out in the community or in ministry, every leader has this thing that happens that gives them indicators, kind of clues, messages, or signals that indicate where they are in the season of their life or work. And it happened to me. When my mom was at her sickest and I was struggling the most intensely, looking back on it now, I recognize that there were signals and indicators that I ignored. And here's why I ignored them. I ignored them because despite the fact that these signals were taking over my entire life, I didn't want to face what I knew kind of in my spirit was coming. Y'all hear me? This is so good. This will change. It will revolutionize how you approach and how you navigate your vision. I was resisting the idea that I was losing my mom because I didn't want to lose my mom. I was resisting the idea that my life was about to radically change because I didn't like the idea of having to leave what I had worked my entire career for. So this concept of having indicators signals or messages, clues, we all have them, that help educate and inform what we should do now or what we should do next. Are you hearing me? Those indicators, that experience of feeling, some of my leaders felt anxious all the time. They had this intense anxiety they couldn't ignore. Some of my leaders felt constantly nauseous or unwell. Some of my leaders felt exhausted all the time. For me, I was angry all the time and I hid it and I was quiet. Y'all know I ain't quiet. Now, I'm an introvert, but I'm not quiet. Okay? I was quiet. I could not talk to anybody. I didn't like anybody. I didn't like myself. Those were all indicators. I didn't know it at the time because I was in the season. What happens in a season? The weather changes, and sometimes it changes abruptly. Every season has a period and a point of rage. That means that you are being buffeted. You are experiencing storms. You are experiencing freezing temperatures. I mean, I'm making a huge analogy here, but you guys get this, right? This happens to us. So I want to ask you this question. Have you experienced a season in your life, in your business, in your family, in your workplace, a season? This is an extended kind of an extended time where conditions remain the same or roughly the same. Have you experienced a season in your life? Sometimes seasons are great. You experience a season of blessing. You experience a season of prosperity where you are landing contracts. People are knowing that you're out there, or maybe you are in a season where your family is growing. You're having twins. I'm not prophesying. Don't worry. Everybody take a deep breath. But I'm just saying, you've got blessing going on. That's a season. It feels like things are great. Things are going exactly the way you plan. The team is clicking. You finally hired the right people. All of those things. That's a season. And everything has a season. That means that things can change. Friend, that's just normal. I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times I have been exasperated when things were going well and then all of a sudden something changes. And I say, oh, there goes the shoe drops. No, babe, the season changed. And if you look at your life, your work, your ministry, whatever that is, if you look at it, you will see that seasons change. So here's the vision caster mindset for that. Seasons change. Get over it. I had to recognize that as a vision-driven leader, if I got upset every time season changed, that wasn't an indicator of God's goodness in my life. That was an indicator that I wasn't paying attention to the seasons. Anyway, I'm way off track. But my point is, there's something important to understand, that experience where you are walking into an environment and suddenly you just feel exhausted. You feel frustrated all the time. And it starts to feel like a season. That, friend, is called positive disruption. Write it down. This is a game changer. It's called positive disruption. You say, Karen, how can disruption be positive? How could the catastrophic illness of your mom be positive? That wasn't the positive part. That was the disruptive part, right? That was the part that broke my heart. What ended up happening, though, is that because I was not in tune with what God was trying to teach me in that season, I resisted the season. Woo! Did y'all catch that? I resisted the season. Listen, resisting the season or rushing the season, this is number 2. Resisting the season or rushing the season doesn't help. It will not help you rock your vision. You will end up exhausted, frustrated, burnout, discouraged, defeated. And you say, well, Karen, it was the thing that happened that discouraged me or caused me to feel defeated. And that is absolutely normal. I am not saying do not get it twisted and don't twist my words, y'all. Come on. I'm not saying just tolerate what you're experiencing. We'll get to that in a minute. What I am saying is that every season has a period of positive disruption. Think about it. As we moved into spring, that positive disruption, as the seasons were changing, I wasn't paying attention, right? Mother Nature didn't come down and just say, well, let me see what kind of seedlings Karen has, and I'm just going to rip them out of the ground. Mother Nature didn't say that, because we know the season is coming. It's up to us as leaders to understand what the indicators are. It's up to us to understand what are the things that are better and best as I navigate into this season. Has nothing to do with not planting anything or hunkering down inside. Okay, I'm sticking with the garden analogy for a minute, so come on with me. For those of you that are not gardeners, I'm not talking about never planting anything, but instead of being over exuberant, knowing that the season is coming and knowing that in where I live, there's a really good chance we're going to have a surprise hard frost ahead of Easter. That's a gardening thing. Knowing that that's going to happen, the thing to do is to plant seeds and to put them inside. So as you think about your season of positive disruption, your seasons of positive disruption, and go back to that question I asked you. I asked you, hey, have you ever experienced a season in your life? Amanda cannot be the only one. So if you're listening, if you're distracted, come on in here for a second and answer that question for us. Have you ever experienced a season in your life, particularly a hard season? Have you ever experienced a hard season where it just felt like you were constantly getting kind of buffeted, 1, 2, 3 punch, where it felt like you couldn't understand or navigate what was happening? You felt like you were being blindsided or overwhelmed. If that's you, put it in the chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, let us know you're watching us. If you're watching on replay, pop in there and just say, hey, like this is not normal. I don't like this. A season where it just, maybe it was in a relationship. Maybe you were in a season. If for those of you that are married or you have a significant other, you know what that's like, right? The honeymoon period is great, but that doesn't last very long, does it? Because you get into that season of dealing with real life. Friend, every season has a period of positive disruption. So the power play here is to understand, what does positive disruption look like for you? So the disruptive part is that thing that just wrecked you, right? That thing that upset you, that wrecked your equilibrium. Okay, that's what that is. What's positive about disruption, Karen? Here's the thing. Disruption is always an invitation to what's next. You know, I say all the time, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. That means if you got this going on, friend, that means there is something better for you. I say it, the way that I say it is, greater is coming. That's just the way it happens, right? And particularly for those of us that believe, we know that God is leading us into something better. This leads me to my next power play. So did y'all get that? First power play was understand what positive disruption looks like for you. Identify what those indicators are for you. The indicators that I have when my season is about to change is different than it is for you. Okay. I want you to begin to understand and recognize, what does positive disruption look like for you? I had a period of positive disruption recently where I had to make a major change. I didn't like it. I didn't want to, but I literally could sense and feel what was happening. And I remember saying to God, I don't like this. I don't want this. I can't, I don't like this, what this feels like. And sure enough, because I had really began to study years ago this idea of positive disruption, I was able to navigate that season much better. Instead of grieving and being upset and being distracted and distraught and all like that for months on end, I was able to ask God to come into the situation and to help me recognize not only what the disruption was, but how to navigate it. Y'all hear me? I'm telling you, if you are a workplace leader and you are going through a season of difficulty, maybe you're dealing with a difficult team situation, maybe the market is disruptive, I want to invite you to consider learning to identify what the season of positive or what the early warning sign was for you, what that positive disruption was. And that season of positive disruption will inform you on what to do now and what to do next. I cannot tell you how many times I talk to people here in Rock Your Vision in my corporate practice who say, I have no idea what to do next. And I say, you know what I say? I say, you always have more options than you realize. But then we begin looking at kind of the season itself, and we begin to identify options, okay? Not necessarily solutions, but options. As a vision-driven leader, options are really kind of your tool. It helps you kind of be in the driver's seat of your vision. This is when I say, you can learn to rock your vision on your terms. It does not mean that you suddenly become a genie and you know everything and you can control everything. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is recognizing that as a vision-driven leader, you always have options. So resist the temptation to get stuck in your feels in the moment. Remember, the season will pass. And as long as we have breath, that will be the case. The season will pass. That's good, y'all. I hope you're writing this down. Are y'all writing this down? Okay. So first, learn to identify the season of positive disruption in your work, your life, your ministry, whatever that is. That information will help you understand what to do now and what to do next versus getting caught up in all the things. All right. That was the first one. Second thing is, instead of being angry with God in the season that you're in, instead of shutting down and moving him out of the picture, or moving wisdom, or maybe somebody who has been assigned to you, maybe you have spiritual parents, or maybe you have a mentor, instead of pushing them out of the picture, this is really the season to acknowledge that you may not know everything you think you know, right? When we're in a season and we are completely outside of what we know or what we think we know, we get to the end of ourselves. The thing to do is not just to fold up and walk away. Come on in here, y'all. I'm serious. Some of you have a vision and you've experienced something hard, traumatic, frustrating. You've experienced a delay or denial, and you're sitting there pushing God out of the picture, or you're ignoring the very people who can help you. But maybe you're receiving feedback, or maybe you are getting that news that you don't want to hear. Listen to me very carefully. Here's the second one. Rushing the season doesn't help. Resenting the season won't help. The seasons are what they are, right? This is part of where we have to, as vision-driven leaders, exercise some humility. When I was experiencing the most difficult time in my mom's journey, I was trying to add all the things together. I was trying to do more and organize more and, manage my team in 4 countries and raise 3 kids and take care of her. I was trying to do all of the things. And I was angry that what I knew and what I had prepared for my entire career wasn't working anymore. The reality was I needed to let go of my job. Y'all, please listen to me. I mean, this might be a little bit tough for some of y'all, but I need you to come in here. Resisting the season, resenting the season does not help. I want you to ask better questions. Instead of asking, God, why is this happening to me? Ask, God, what is it you want me to learn from this? Can you just for a moment slow down long enough and ask better questions? Maybe it's instead of saying, I'll never get through this, ask, who is it that might be able to help me get through this? Y'all, the one thing, there are many things, but the number one thing I wished I had done when my mom was ill was I wished I had asked for help sooner. I wished I had asked for help sooner. I was an emotional mess. And I'm not talking about emotions from a bad perspective, but I was out of control. I wasn't paying attention at all. Okay, let's take a quick commercial break. Y'all talk amongst yourselves because I need to blow my nose again. Thank you. Happy spring. Hold on. I'm glad we're family, because I'm just going to be honest with you. This is not sexy at all. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay. Rushing the season, resenting the season doesn't help. That's number 2. Number 3, ask better questions. Ask better questions. Instead of, why is this person just always coming after me? I feel like they just want to absolutely make my life miserable. Y'all, listen to me. For those of you who are people leaders, you are leaders of people, you are managing a team, you are growing a team. Maybe you are a contractor and you are responsible for people that you don't have any authority over. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, instead of asking the question, why are they doing this? Ask the question, what do I need to learn? What indicators did I have or do I have that help me understand what the real issue is? Nobody comes to work. Well, there's actually less than 1% of the population, and they do exist. That's for another show. But anyway, that's less than 1% of the population. Most people come to work actually wanting to do well. They want to make a contribution. They want to understand how their work connects to the broader picture. So instead of shutting down and taking it personally, right, assuming that that person is coming in to try and devastate what's happening, ask better questions. What do I need to learn from this? Now, on the occasion, y'all know the HR girl comes out at me. On the occasion that you do have somebody who is trying, they are malicious, they intend harm, there are ways to deal with that. If you need to talk about that, give me a call. I'll be glad to talk to you. Okay. But anyway, or call Coach Kim Dudash, who is an amazing executive coach and HR consultant. She is fabulous. And she can give you some pointers as well. All right. So number 3, ask better questions. As you are navigating the seasons of your experience, ask better questions, right? Instead of taking a fixed mindset says, oh, well, there's only one option, right? There's only one possibility. Take a step back from that, friend. Ask a better question. This is the life of leadership that we live. Doesn't matter where you are. If you interact with people, friend, you are a leader, whether you want to be one or not. You are leading people somewhere. I'm gonna walk away from that. Anyway, okay, here's number 4. Resist the temptation to wrestle with the season. Friend, seasons come and go, whether we want them to or not. I don't care if you are the, weather station or whatever. We're not, no nasty jokes about the weatherman. Okay. I love the weatherman. We need the weatherman. But the reality is that the seasons come and go and they change. And there are some things that are just bigger than us, right? The earth is the Lord's and everything therein. Some things are bigger than us. And as much as we think we know, the reality is that we get into trouble as leaders when we make assumptions about what we think we know. How many of y'all are parents? How many of you are parents in here, or you want to be parents? How many of you are parents? Drop an emoji or something in the chat. Let me know you're here, because I'm coming for you right now. How many of you are parents? How many of you wanted those kids? That was me. I would see other kids out and I'd be like, I know what he needs. Is anybody else guilty? Y'all got mighty quiet. And then I got him. And when I tell you, the one that just left, he was a perfect baby. And I'm like, see, I told you I'm gonna have me perfect baby. It's because of how I raised him. And I read to him every single day. He was perfect until he wasn't. When you walk into environments and you think you have all the answers, it is the death knell for any leader. Walking into a situation, making the assumption that you have all the answers, friend, you are going to experience a season of difficulty. So if you are a leader and you're in a situation and maybe you're frustrated or you're overwhelmed or whatever the case may be, let me just challenge you. Resist the temptation to wrestle. I'm going to get this thing to do what I want it to do. No. I need you to take a step back and look at what the season is trying to tell you. As a gardener, y'all know I have a beautiful garden. And yes, Leadership Lessons from the Garden is coming back. But my garden is gorgeous, and we have all kinds of wildlife out there. It is absolutely wonderful and absolutely frustrating all at the same time. Again, a story for another day. But I can tell what's happening. My garden gives me clues, but when I don't pay attention, when I neglect it for too long, that garden will turn on me in a minute. If I am not paying attention to where I'm walking, because I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful out here, and walking out there in my bare feet, I may get a handful from a snake or a spider or some other thing that's out there. My point is that everything is beautiful in its time. Go back to Ecclesiastes, and I think it's Ecclesiastes 3. Go back and read that. Everything has a season. And I love that it has a season. So there's something to learn from that. If the season exists and we know it exists, and remember, that season will change. So it's not that we hunker down and just say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to study anything. I'm not going to ever love again. I'm not going to start another business. I'm not going to. That is a fixed mindset. We want to adopt a growth mindset. And the growth mindset is basically what we say around here all the time. You always have more options than you realize. So if you're facing a season of difficulty, what's that season tell you? What do you need to learn from that season? How do you have that season become your teacher and not your captive? Okay, I'm not going to preach. Anyway, okay, that was number 4, resist a temptation to wrestle with the season. Here's the other thing that goes along with that. Even in times when it feels like nothing is going on, like there is no possibility for growth or change, friend, there is always something growing. There is always something growing. There is always something growing. Can you put it in the chat? Everybody that's watching this live, or if you're watching it on replay, put it in the chat. There is always something growing. If it's not growing here, it's growing somewhere else. If you don't see the top part of it growing, that means it is doing something it needs to do underneath. And that may mean going dormant. Ooh. I'm just going to sit. I'm going to let y'all take that in for a minute. Thank you, Lauren. Foshi, oh my gosh. Hey, girl. Yes, there's always something growing. I need that to sit right here with y'all. There's always something growing. The enemy of our souls would whisper to us and say, well, you know how that went. I guess that thing isn't growing anymore. I guess your marriage is over. Oh, well, whatever. And I'm not trying to get personal. Okay. I'm not trying to get personal. But I'm getting a little bit personal, because as vision-driven leaders, if we don't get personal, friend, if we don't do the inner work, we will show up on the outside like we've got it all together and miss it altogether on the inside. And let me just tell you, the thing that will help anchor you when the storms of life come, and they will, in your work, in your business, in your family, in your marriage, with your kids, with your extended family, in every place, because we know that seasons happen. Friend, as a vision-driven leader, we got to get over this thing of being wounded and falling out on the floor every time disruption happens. Disruption is a part of life. If you are in ministry, disruption is a part of life. Things fall off. Things start over. Things don't work. People don't get it. People start criticizing. When you anchor the inner man, Coach Kim Dudash, come on, girl. If y'all aren't following Coach Kim at Dudash Executive Coaching, please go follow her. Some of the insights that all of the insights that she drops are gold. And she talks about this thing called the inner game. I've also heard Coach Alicia Newton talk about something very similar. Coach Alicia isn't on here today, but y'all go follow Coach Alicia Newton as well. She's a game-changing leader as well. But Coach Kim talks about this thing called the inner game. Coach Kim, when you get a second, put it in the chat. What is the inner game? When I talk about the inner man, the inner game, I am talking about developing your spiritual man. Get in the word. Y'all can't do that just because you get on here every Monday and listen to me go on. You can't do that just because you listen to Pastor Andy Smith or wherever it is you go to preach. You have to actually develop the anchor and the roots. You have to know the word for yourself. You have to understand, when I go out into the garden, y'all, listen, I can use my hands, and goodness knows people use their hands for centuries. But then they also realized that there were things all around them that they could use to help them till the soil. This is good, y'all. I hope you're writing this down. Take a sip, take a note, and write this down. So instead of going into that season like, oh, I'm going to wrestle that thing to the ground, don't get it twisted. That season will come for you. Instead of wrestling the season, look around, check for growth. I went out in my garden. I guess this was in January, and I knew it was still freezing. But I went through my garden looking at all of the things that I forgot about, and I felt discouraged. Can I tell you something? I looked over in a little grow bag. If you're a gardener, you know what I'm talking about. It was a little grow bag. And there in the midst of that dirt were my cabbages, just as green as they could be. What if I had gone and just kind of chopped everything down? I would have missed what's growing. I won't beat the analogy to death, but I'm just saying. Coach Kim says there are two games of leadership. The outer game and the inner game. The inner game is the iOS, the operating system that runs the outer game. There you go. You heard it here from Coach Kim. Here's number 5. I know it feels like we've talked about 750 things, but listen. Learn to discern the difference. Here's your 5th power play. Learn to discern the difference between productive work and unproductive work. Come on. Come on in here. Learn to discern the difference between productive work and unproductive work. As a vision-driven leader, if you go out when the ground is frozen hard and you try to plant a seed that is supposed to be planted after the first frost, you will lose that crop. You will invest the work. You will work harder than you need to. Learn to discern in the season of life that you're in the season of work that you're in, what's productive work and what's unproductive work. If you are a workplace leader, I saw this happen last week, actually. I was working with a leader of a huge team. They were spending like thousands of dollars doing workshops and, team building activities. Some of you that are in the workplace, you know what I'm talking about. They were doing all of these great kind of team events to build camaraderie, but they had no trust. If you are a workplace leader and you are recognizing that you have no trust, please get somebody and ask for help. Get an outside perspective that helps you understand the season. Or ask better questions so that you make sure you're doing the kind of work that is actually productive for your team. Just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's God's idea. I'm just saying. I'm going to leave it there. Coach Kim says, unless a grain of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Wow. Come on. Y'all, I'm telling you, so often we look to universities and we look to, the superstars and all like that for wisdom. I'm telling you, scripture is loaded. Lauren Foshi, come on, give me an amen in here. This one right here. Y'all, if you are looking for good ground and a fabulous wisdom-based, like scripture-based podcast, go and listen to First and Main. You can find it on, I think on iTunes. Lauren, remind us where we can find First and Main. I listened to it, I think on Apple Music. First and Main is the most incredible podcast. We need to have you and Coach Deb back. Wait, you've never been. I've been to you. Okay, that's a date. First and Main. Y'all go listen to this incredible podcast. These two women are absolute bosses when it comes to understanding leadership and the Word of God. Anyway, iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean, which I've never heard of. Very interesting. Yes. So go look it up. First and Main. Go find and listen to that podcast. Okay. I'm way off track, as I usually do. Okay. So you're going to check for growth. That's number 5. Number 6. Just because, listen to this, just because you know about the season doesn't mean you can predict the season. Okay? Just because you know the season doesn't mean you can predict the season. Y'all, when I was caring for my mother, I brought all of the things that I knew, right? Okay, I'm going to organize things. I'm going to pray. I'm going to speak in tongues. I'm going to declare over here. I'm going to prophesy over here. I'm going to do all of those things. And all of those things are useful. But you have to recognize that the season is what it is. Okay? This is like big girl stuff, y'all. I'm serious. Like, this took me so long to learn, and like my heart is even skipping a beat even saying it. Okay? The God I serve is a good God. He is a good God. And I recognize that the seasons are what they are. I would not dare say I understand the mind, all that there is in the mind of God, that I understand how the seasons work, or I understand what the outcome of my life will ultimately be. I can do all the right things. And you know what? If I misplace my understanding, or if I believe that I'm smarter than God, I'm going to take it into my own hands. I'm just telling you that Scripture is full of evidence that says if you miss that, go find Ecclesiastes. I think it's Ecclesiastes 3, where it says there is a season for everything, but read the context above it and below it. Because what God is really saying to us in Ecclesiastes is, like, I'm there for you. I've got you. But recognize I am God. As leaders, we can miss it. We think, oh, I've got this. I know this. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't care where you are in your life. Invite God into the situation. You will lead better. You will parent better. You will grow your business more sustainably. You will do everything better. Amanda says, has anyone here read the poem A Reason, Season, or Lifetime? This talk reminded me of it. Oh my gosh, no. I'm going to have to go and find that, Amanda. I want to go find that. I will do that first thing when we finish. Okay, I'm almost done, y'all. So number 6 is, just because you know the season doesn't mean you can predict the season. And here's the power play. Be teachable, be adaptable, listen more than you talk, and ask for help. You're welcome. There you go. Okay. When you are in a season, when you are doing everything you know to do, I did all those things. I prayed. I got quiet with God. I did my meditation. I went away for 40 days. Whatever those things are you're doing. When you are in the workplace and you're like, well, I wrote her up. I did a team meeting. I did this. Be adaptable. Consider that you may not know everything you need to know. When I'm in the garden, I've been gardening for a long time, but I am nowhere near the level of skill that many others are. I don't sit there and keep digging the same thing in the same place, planting the same seeds. I don't do that. I go and I take a class, or I go to Pikes, or I do the things that I know to do. I ask other people who have grown the kind of thing that I have grown. Y'all, I'm just saying that sometimes we need to take a step back. We need to be teachable and accept as leaders that we are not ultimately, right, that there are things outside of our span of control. Lauren, thank you. Thank you for that. Ecclesiastes 3:1, it was Ecclesiastes 3. Woohoo! For everything, there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. Like, that's a power play, you guys. And it's biblical. This is huge. So I hope this brings you some comfort that as a leader, you were never supposed to carry everything on your own and by yourself. Okay, that was number 6. Here's number 7, the last one, and then we're going to wrap. Understand your surroundings. Understand your surroundings. Friend, I know you walk out into an environment, you enter a relationship, and you think you understand or you know all of the things, but the reality is that seasons can change and adapt. Even when we think we know spring is going to fall, it can change, right? The weather can change. So my invitation to you is to understand your surroundings. Be observant at all times. Study to show thyself approved. Study your surroundings. Make no assumptions. Ask questions of your team, right? Step into that space, because as a leader, when we are humble, when we are teachable, when we are adaptable, when we are observant, we become a vision-driven leader, the kind of vision-driven leader that God can use to fulfill his purpose in our life. Was this good, y'all? This was good, wasn't it? I hope you will find at least one strategy, one power play that you can use in your life. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to just go back through them, and I want you to drop in the chat, what's the one power play that you are going to focus on this week? All right, you ready? 1, learn to identify positive disruption in your own life. Instead of being terrified, be curious. Stop rushing or resenting the season. 4, resist the temptation to wrestle with the season. Check for growth. Check for growth in places that maybe it feels like nothing is happening. And here's another one that I just want to add on to that. Just because it's not a tall read doesn't mean that it's not useful. I'll leave that there. That was for somebody. Discern the difference between productive and unproductive work. Where are you spending too much of your time in places that's not producing fruit? Again, I'm just going to walk away. And number 6, be teachable, be adaptable, listen more than you talk, and ask for help. Okay, which one is yours? Here's the last one. I want you to put it in the chat. Go back and watch the replay. Go back and watch the replay and just grab those nuggets. Number 6 is this: understand your surroundings. Don't make any assumptions about what you think you know as a leader. You will be a better leader in every way. You will become more approachable. You will become somebody that people trust when you learn to understand your surroundings. Okay. Friend, we go into all of this and more through Vision Casters Academy. If you have not joined our monthly membership, we've made it accessible for everybody. I hope that you will take a moment and check out Vision Casters Academy. Coach John is going to drop the link, and I want to see you in there. We go deep in these. Every single month, we have done with you sessions where we will walk through each of the workbooks with you. This is really the opportunity to get some of that support and to build a vision that you love throughout the year. Listen, you do not have to crash land into December 31st. There is a different option, you guys. I'm just saying. Listen, if you've joined us live, Amanda, Coach John, Linda, Lauren Foshi, I'm so thankful for you, girl. I would love to see you guys again. We need to talk about getting you guys in here. I hope that you would be willing to join us on Jumpstart. I'm just saying. Y'all check out their podcast, First in Maine. Coach Kim Dudash, I love you, girl. It was so good to see you the other day. Linda Carroll, I am so thankful you were able to join us. I know you've got a full-time gig as well. Linda is an incredible photographer. She has a photography studio. And if you're looking for photos, I'm just saying, y'all check her out, Linda Carroll Photography. Let's see. Anybody else in here? Shay Houston, love you, girl. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us. TT, my girl, my sweetheart, Tiandra Grant is an amazing entrepreneur. She has a new tutoring business. You guys check her out. Tiandra, when you, if you're still listening, drop the link to your tutoring business. We want to shout you out. We're so proud of you. Thank you, everybody. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. I'll go back and say hi. Christy Kent, of course, thank you for joining us. Has this been a good show? Was this useful for you? Don't forget, I want to hear what's one strategy that you are going to practice, that you are going to focus on this week. Y'all, you have more options than you realize. I will see you next show.